With rapidly rising food costs, many are adjusting what and how they eat. Staples such as bread, meat and cooking oil have seen sharp increases. So let's find out how to maintain a healthy diet, especially on a budget, with nutrition lifestyle coach Noeleen Bridle, who joins me now for this conversation. Noeleen, good to have you and good morning to you. It seems that we are forced into a state where we have to adjust our food basket because food is so expensive. How do we do so while maintaining a healthy lifestyle? Do you advise?
Well, to prevent chronic disease, it's what you eat that's going to help. So you don't want to wait until you spend years eating processed food, which is off our shelves at the moment. 80,000 products are actually killing us. And the food that I'm going to recommend is the food that will give you vitality, keep sickness away, and is the cheapest of all. So if you want to hear a little bit more about that, carbohydrates, which are starch, fruit and veg, are the cheapest foods around. So if you go down to your local vendor or to those garages that sell bulk packs of that 3 veg for about 50 Rand, I'm just saying you need to shop smartly, and carbohydrates are your fuel for your immune system. So, it's very basic eating.
Yeah. Noeleen, is it true that healthy food is actually expensive? Because I hear you making mention of affordable food, affordable carbohydrates, but I also equally hear people saying that healthy food is expensive.
Well, if you go to a health shop, those foods are very expensive. They're mostly processed and they're actually called supplements. But if you're eating real food, that is nutritional food, which is what I'm talking about, those are your cheapest foods. It's actually that lack of basic education. So if people understand what are cheap, or what are health foods actually, then it's very easy and cheap to shop. So for instance, proteins, instead of eating meat, what I've heard from the people that I interviewed yesterday, that they're eating, to replace meat, they're eating marrow bones, which are high in fat, taste like meat, and they're adding it to pulses and vegetables. Very easy to eat rice and pulses to remain most vigilant with your health. I mean, that's really what it's all about. That's how I eat. And I don't shop at health shops. I eat basic food and maintain my health, leanness, and keep sickness away. So, there's no easier way. If you want to eat carbohydrates, starch, fruit and veg, then good proteins would be beans and rice. And then fats. If you can't buy avocado, pear and avos, you could buy flaxseed and add a tablespoon to your meals. So it's basic education that should be taught at schools from school learners,
right.
And then going forward.
I mean, it's morning, it's breakfast time, so people are on the go right now. Mummies and daddies probably packing lunch for their kids. If they're in business, they're moving around. Oftentimes, it's so easy to be tempted to buy takeaways because you're on the move. How would you then advise packing lunch or packing food for the day while you're on the move, which is obviously healthy at the same time?
Well, Well, most people have a little bit of cheese, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. I'm going to give you nutritional advice. Have a blender. So we're looking at all income groups. So, I could say have rice for breakfast, make it with banana, make it into a rice pudding. So, they eat those kind of things in Peru. But if you want something on the run, if you take a handful of spinach, a little bit of cucumber, a whole lot of veg, a bit of lemon, apple, and then you add, blend it up with maybe a bit of quinoa. That's for parents that are a little bit tight on time. At least your child's getting a whole bunch of nutritional additives to their smoothie. So, cereals nowadays are what most people have. And I know pap is one of the ones most eaten. But then we've got bread. Children eating it 5 times a day. I can't say there's any goodness in that. No goodness in cereals or breads. So eating real food isn't very difficult. If and all over Asian countries ate rice for breakfast. So we've got the old American mentality that cereal is our given. So, they are doing that in all countries and remain slim forever, healthy.
Yes.
So it's looking at things in a different way.
Okay, I'm going to let you go in a few minutes, but before I do, you mentioned cereal, and obviously we know that's more targeted at young kids. How do we make eating healthy fun for kids? Because we know sometimes forcing down vegetables down their throat can be a task when it comes to young children. So how would you advise parents on making fruits and vegetables actually fun and, creative at the same time?
Well, the only way really to do that is have your children in the kitchen with you.
Right.
Let them chop up, let them taste, eat. It's hard work, but I always say the opposite of love is lazy. So you're either going to be a lazy parent or you're going to educate your children from day dot. Teach them how to look after their bodies. Your bodies are your greatest asset. So, as a parent, you want your children to stay healthy. You don't want them to get cancer or diabetes when they're in their teenage years. So, it's up to each parent to spend a little bit of time all cooking together in the evening, take their food to work. The best thing for a child is to be taking home-cooked food from the night before to school the next day. So if everybody does that, that should be a win for health and also for time and effort. So there's no mad rush in the morning with little bits of processed food that can't give anyone any good nutrition.
Well, I appreciate this conversation. I'm a mommy myself. I'll definitely be implementing some of those tips. Noeleen, thank you so much for joining us. That's Noeleen Bridle, a fitness and nutrition lifestyle coach, giving us some tips on how we can, of course, make the most of healthy food on a budget.